What's the best bit of it?
What's the best bit of it?
Yeah, what's the biggest benefit?
I don't think that the full benefit has been executed by the Tories.
No, but the bits that have been executed, what's your favourite?
Because we've got independence.
No, I mean as in something that we can see and something we can see and measure. So which law? Which is your favourite?
Various laws.
Just name one.
No, I'm not going to fall into that. I'm just saying.
Well, you can't come on the radio and say there's loads of great laws, and then I say, could you tell me one of them? You have to tell me one of them, Anne.
A caller told James O'Brien that Rishi Sunak was the safer choice for the economy. James asked a simple question back. What's the best part of Brexit? Not a feeling, just one benefit. The caller had an answer for everything except that. Let's watch it together. And before I tell you to like and hit that subscribe button, please allow me the chance to earn that from you.
Yeah, I've been listening to the debate, and I think that whilst I can't defend the Tories in their entirety, there's a lot of mistakes, and I agree the country is very, very broken. I do think that Sunak is the safer pair of hands when it comes to the economy.
Safer than who?
Safer than Labour. And the reason I'm saying that is that the Labour government, last time they were in power, when Cameron took over, left a note on the desk to say there was no more money in the coffers. They bankrupted the country.
No. You've forgotten the 2008 global financial crisis.
No, I haven't.
No, you have.
No, I haven't.
No,
there were pension rates.
Clearly have.
Trust me. Please don't put words in my mouth, because
I didn't. I was telling you the words you hadn't said.
I went through and experienced very heavily the financial crisis in 2008. But nonetheless, Labour were irresponsible in the spending, having raided pensions and everything else. And that balance has got to be heard on this conversation, whether you like it or not. Well, you can say all you like, and when you say that Brexit was a ridiculous situation, well, there's 51% of the country voted for it. We're not all ridiculous. We're quite intelligent, quite informed.
What's the best bit of it?
What's the best bit of it?
Yeah, what's the biggest benefit?
I don't think that the full benefit has been executed by the Tories.
No, but the bits that have been executed, what's your favourite?
Because we've got independence.
No, I mean as in something that we can see and something we can see and measure. So which law? Which is your favourite?
Various laws.
Just name one.
No, I'm not going to fall into that. I'm just saying.
Well, you can't come on the radio and say there's loads of great laws, and then I say, could you tell me one of them? You have to tell me one of them, Anne.
No, I don't.
Well, obviously you don't. It's not the law.
No, the law.
Well, except possibly it is the law. So what do you like most? What do you like?
However,
what
hasn't happened by the Tories?
With respect, that's just ignorance.
No, it's not ignorance.
Well, give me an example then. Give me an example.
What I'm going on to say is, what the Tories have failed to do
Can I have one example?
Brexit. No, I don't need to give you an example.
You do, otherwise everyone's going to think you're very silly. No, you have to give me one example.
The conversation is really, really biased in
It's not biased. It's biased in favour of evidence and examples.
And they're all as bad as each other.
So what's your example?
I've given you the example.
You haven't. You just used words like control with no proof. So what's your proof that we have more control? Go on then.
I've got proof. Don't look it up. Don't Google it.
No, you can't say I've got proof. You can't say I've got proof.
At the end of the day,
go and Google it.
You have got.
So give me some proof.
Parties here that are all as bad as each other.
Yes, except they're not all as bad as each other, because people on the other side of this argument, if we can use that word very, very loosely, they will point at things that have happened. For example, having to choose the 12 people that could attend the funeral of your 16-year-old son. That is not something that makes Labour the same as the Conservatives. But we're talking about Brexit. We're talking... let me speak, please. And then you go back to that note as well in the... in the Treasury, which actually nudged back to something that Reggie Maudling did when he was the Conservative Chancellor and left a very similar message. There's no money left, old Pip, or something like that for his Labour
that's a long
success.
Time ago. But
well, you're talking about 14 years ago, so your point is ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's a big event that has led to, along with COVID, and
why do you think that every economy in the world, arguably, certainly in the free world, followed the advice of Alistair Darling and and Gordon Brown when it came to dealing with the global financial crisis and the policy of quantitative easing. When Gordon Brown went to France, even though he hadn't actually been invited, and persuaded, I think, Sarkozy to let him speak to all the EU leaders or the European Eurozone leaders, and Alistair Darling flew to Washington to speak to America, why do you think they all took the advice of the two Labour politicians? Anne?
Sorry, say that again.
Why do you think every government in the world, practically, followed the advice of Gordon Brown and Alistair Darling when it came to emerging from the global financial crisis of 2008?
You tell me. You tell me.
Because they were brilliant.
Really?
Well, no, that's my
brilliant
answer. It's your turn.
Yeah,
it's your turn now.
Well, my turn is to say
Yeah.
they weren't that brilliant because all they were doing was storing up a load of problems that got taken over in 2010.
No,
now,
but those
are
just words. They don't actually mean anything. They were solving.
They're not words.
No, well, they are
There was no
words,
money
and we
left.
can at least agree that they're words that you said.
But it's 2010. There's
Yes.
no money in the budget.
No, the 2010 as a consequence of the global financial crisis of 2008,
In
and the
part,
direction of traffic at the time was positive. Alistair Darling was improving a situation that the Tories then came in and tried to address with austerity. And the fact that you have to cling to something as ridiculous as a
It's
40...
not clinging to it.
Well, hang on, you don't know what I've said yet. How can you say it's not ridiculous?
Go on then. Finish it.
You have to cling to something as ridiculous as a 14-year-old private joke between at least one person of whom didn't think it would ever be made public is evidence that you haven't really got anything substantive to say. Well, except, no, that's not fair. Except, of course, I've got loads of examples, but I can't tell you what they are. You're going to have to go and Google it yourself.
No, I think there's some manipulation of what I've said, and I think 14 years...
Feel
is
free
not
to
a joke,
remind me
and it
what the
shouldn't be
benefits are.
It shouldn't be a joke to anybody.
What are the
because
benefits
it's
of
not
Brexit?
government money.
What are the benefits?
It's public money, and it should be important to everybody listening and everybody not listening. It's public money, and there was none left. So spending money that wasn't there. You can't run a business that way.
Is the debt bigger or smaller today than it was then?
Bigger.
So whose fault is that then?
COVID.
Oh, I see. Right. So the global financial crisis had nothing to do with the state of the economy when Labour lost in 2010, but the failure of... So what was the figure before COVID? What was the debt before COVID, Anne?
You tell me.
No, you tell me, because you're the one that's insisting that Rishi Sunak is a safer pair of hands than the Labour Party. So you tell me.
The facts speak for themselves. Inflation has come down, hasn't it?
Yes, and it also went up. So your point is what?
It did go up, and the reason it went up was in part linked to COVID and in part linked to the legacy issues, of which, yes, the Tories are part of it.
Give me your favourite legacy
Labour are
issue.
part of it.
What's your favourite legacy issue, Anne?
My favourite legacy issue is what I've just said, which is that they were bankrupt. But I don't think we're going to get anywhere, so we'll agree to disagree.
No, we
thanks for
won't.
your
I
time.
never agree to disagree with people who haven't got any evidence to support their position. So what I suspect you're going to do now is just hang up. I'm like Nostradamus.
Let's go through this whole call because it's a genuinely useful example of a very specific rhetorical move, and it's worth naming clearly. The caller opens by conceding the Conservatives have made mistakes and that the country is broken, before pivoting to his actual point, that Sunak is a safer pair of hands on the economy than Labour would be. His reasoning goes back to 2010, when the outgoing Labour government left a note famously saying there was no money left. James's first move is simple and important. He reminds the caller that 2008 happened, a global financial crisis that devastated economies worldwide, not a uniquely British Labour failure. The caller insists he hasn't forgotten it, but keeps returning to the idea that Labour was fundamentally irresponsible regardless. Then James pivots the whole conversation, and this is the heart of the call. He asks plainly what the single biggest benefit of Brexit actually is. Something visible. Something you could point to and measure. The caller's first answer is vague, something about various laws. And when James asks him to name just one, he refuses outright, accusing James of trying to trap him. James's response cuts right to it. You can't go on national radio and claim there are loads of great new laws, then refuse to name a single one when someone simply asks which one you mean. What follows is one of the clearest examples of a pattern this channel keeps coming back to. The caller keeps using words like control and independence without ever attaching them to anything concrete. When James asks for proof that Brexit actually gave Britain more control, the caller's answer, essentially, is to tell James to go and look it up himself. Think about how strange that is as a response. He's the one making the claim. He's the one who rang a national radio show specifically to argue this point. And when asked to support it, he outsources the burden of proof to the person questioning him. Then the conversation swings back to the economy, and this is where the caller's original argument really starts to buckle. He brings up a private joke made 14 years earlier by a Conservative Chancellor about there being no money left, treating it as some kind of gotcha against Labour, as if it settles the entire argument about competence. James points out calmly that clinging to a decade-old private joke instead of offering any actual evidence is itself pretty revealing. When James asks a direct, simple question, whether the national debt is bigger or smaller today than under Labour, the caller has to admit it's bigger, and initially tries to blame that entirely on COVID, before conceding, when pressed, that legacy issues from the Conservative years played a part too. Asked to name his own favourite legacy issue, the best example of Conservative competence he can offer, he just repeats the same 14-year-old line about Labour being broke. And then we get to the ending, which I think is genuinely the most satisfying moment on this whole channel so far. James tells him plainly that he never agrees to disagree with someone who has no evidence for their position, and predicts in real time that the caller is about to hang up. And the caller does exactly that, mid-argument, the second the questions stop being ones he can dodge. James's dry response, comparing himself to Nostradamus, lands because it's earned. He'd already demonstrated, several times over, that every single one of the caller's claims dissolved the moment it was asked to produce anything specific. The hang-up isn't a shock ending, it's the completely predictable final beat of a call built entirely on assertions with nothing underneath them. I think what's genuinely instructive here isn't really about Brexit specifically, or even about this one caller. It's about noticing how often a position gets defended using words that sound substantive: control, independence, safer hands, legacy issues, without a single one of them ever being cashed out into something you could actually check. The caller wasn't lying exactly. I think he genuinely believed what he was saying, but belief isn't the same as evidence, and this call is about as clean a demonstration as you'll find of what happens when someone's asked, patiently and repeatedly, to show they're working and simply doesn't have any. That's where I am on it. Genuinely, thank you for staying till the very predictable end with me. If watching someone get called by their own Nostradamus before hanging up mid-argument brought you any joy today, you know exactly what to do. Like it, share it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.